I knew that unless I went through therapy, I couldn't step into that. And so, of course, the first thing I did was I found a therapist, and it changed my life. It absolutely changed my life because I didn't realize all of the things that I was carrying, the stories that I was telling me was rooted in my childhood. And the things that I was being told, see, it's almost like there were two personalities, two Angies. There was such a dichotomy. It's like, yeah, you could do whatever you can. I see you in the White House. My parents are always telling me, I see you one day in the White House. And I always laugh about it because to them, it's, I'm a go-getter. I've always been that person that's always doing something. But it's also like, ay, pero Angie, you need to be like the rest. Betty, sécate el pelo. It's go and do your hair. Because that's not professional. Be careful how you're showing up. So I was constantly battling two people and how I should show up to places. I didn't know how I should show up. Should I be like everybody else? So it wasn't until I started to go through therapy that I realized, no, espérate un segundo. Wait 1 second. I have to redefine who I want to be moving forward.
Hello, amigos. It's Celeste Leon, and welcome back to the Light to Success podcast, a place where we can discuss how to strengthen our mindset, increase our confidence, and maintain a high level of motivation to reach the next level of success in our lives. So, let's get started. Welcome back, friends, to the Light to Success podcast. This is your host, Celeste Leon, and happy Women's Month. Excited to continue with our female series because today I am introducing you to an incredible woman that leaves you speechless, really, once you hear the magic that comes out of her mouth. And they call her the People Whisperer due to the amazing results she achieves with her clients. Her name is Angelica or Angie Ogando, and she is the co-founder of Yoshida Academy, a company that provides a variety of courses, coaching, and consulting around public speaking, diversity and inclusion, personal development, and more. I've been connected to Angie now for a few years. I actually myself took a course with Yoshida Academy where I got to listen to her amazing tips, her wisdom, everything that she teaches on a weekly basis. And I just loved it. I grew so much. I definitely became a better communicator. And it was actually one of the big pushes that led me to starting this podcast. So super happy to dive into this conversation. And thank you, Angie, for being here today.
Thank you so much, Celeste, for including me in your women's series. Happy Women's Month. And I call it Happy Her Story Month because it's all about our stories. And so I'm so honored. Thank you for that kind and beautiful introduction. I appreciate it. You were an absolute joy for us to have in our class.
Absolutely. I'm so happy to have you. And we'll definitely dive into that a little bit more. The topic of discussion in this podcast, Angie, I would love to talk about self-love, how we can increase our self-love as women and communicate with power. So I would like to start with, why are you passionate about helping women embrace their power and step into their purpose to attain success? What led your passion to grow in this realm?
First of all, I love this topic because self-love has been a journey for me to get to for the longest time. And I'm going to tell you what led me to helping women step into their power, because we already have power. We're being told all the time, oh, I want to empower you. I want to help motivate you so that you can find your power. No. Your power didn't go anywhere. You are a woman, which means you were already born with power. The thing is that because of life, the circumstances, the experiences that we've had, we've been told time and time again that we have no power. And so what that does is that it makes us question our self-worth. It makes us question how much we love ourselves. We're constantly waiting for other people to validate us, but we've never been taught to validate ourselves and to love ourselves. And so the journey of self-love begins from the moment I was born, Celeste. I was born in the Dominican Republic. I came to the United States when I was 6 years old. I am a proud Afro Black Latina. And I was born in a country of happy people that constantly find ways to be resourceful, to win. That bachata, merengue, salsa is the joy that we share with the world. And mango literally is the plate that I would leave fancy meal for Celeste to eat. And people think I'm crazy. I'm like, if you haven't tasted anything until you've tasted some mango with fried salami and some fried cheese.
I agree, for sure.
So let me tell you something. When it comes to my journey, I'm a twin. We are the youngest of 6 daughters. We grew up believing that the concept of beauty is the European one. Entonces, I grew up in a household, imagine, Dominican. We are known like throughout the world for the blowouts that they do, the doobie that you put on, that beauty is found in your hair and the way that you show up, that having straight hair is beautiful. And it absolutely is not true. See, for my family, showing up with my hair curly, it's like, get the says, you look like a wet mop. You're not going to get a job, with your hair looking like that. It's about accepting the fact that my DNA is a mixture of everything that you can think of. We have African descendancy, we have the Taino, we have the European, because of course my family went and did that whole the DNA and the ancestry thing. We were 38% from Spain, which we know. And then the other 50% was a mixture of not just African, but we even have Asian. Can you imagine? I said, that's why I love sushi so much. But we have a mixture of cultures. My blood carries all those mixtures of cultures. Pero imagínate tú que the first impression that I get about self-love comes from my immediate family. And what their definition of beauty is, it has to do with the way we see ourselves. It's rooted in our standards of beauty. It wasn't until I turned 35 that I switched from constantly blowing out my hair to wearing my hair curly. And the reason why it happened at 35 was because I went through a very big transition. My focus is helping women who are in the middle of a transitional point in their lives, because that's the one that I know all too well, to accept who they are, step into their authenticity, their power as a woman, and use that to become successful. At 35, I experienced something I never thought I was going to experience. I was in the middle of a divorce. I had gone through a failed company. I had launched a tech company that literally went up in smokes. I lost $250,000 in that investment. My dad had been, he had been diagnosed once again with cancer for a second time. And my niece, who was 11 at the time, was also diagnosed with cancer. Imagínate tú.
Oh my God.
I was going through the biggest transition of my life. When you go through failure, such as the end of a relationship, of a marriage, when you fail at business, you feel like a failure. All of that contributed to me feeling as if I was not worthy, that I wasn't good enough. I was going through so much self-doubt. I literally would tell people I was the poster child for the imposter syndrome. Because at 35, I was questioning what was going to be next in my life. I didn't know what that next was going to look like.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, because I think anybody who experiences, right, the end of a relationship or just your business not working out, like you said, you feel like a failure. You go through a really deep, I think, identity crisis. But you've completely, obviously, to see where you are today, you rose above that. So how did you go through that transition? And how did you not let those voices in your head win? How did you embrace who you are truly to step into this new version of you? What did that look like?
So thank you for the question, because the first thing that I had to do was identify that I was in a moment of crisis. And what tends to happen is that when we are in a moment of crisis, we think that it is the end of the world. And we are too afraid to talk about it, to share our story, to ask for help. And what I realized is that because I was in a downward spiral, I knew that I needed to get help. And so the first thing was that I spoke about it. I spoke about going through a moment in my life where I felt depressed, like seriously depressed. I wasn't diagnosed with depression, but I know I felt depressed. I was going through heartache because when you fail at something, whether it's a relationship or a business, it's almost like you feel like it's the death of someone. So you go through the 5 stages of death, and that's what I was experiencing. And so when I reached out and I started to tell people that I just wasn't feeling well, people started saying, Angie, I think you need to go get therapy. Maybe you should consider going to get coaching. And interestingly enough, I was going through the coaching certification process while I was doing it. So the good thing that helped me is that I realized, you know what? Yeah, I think I need some therapy. And the first
How did
thing I
that
did.
make you feel when people were telling you that you needed therapy? Because most people would be like, me, I don't need it. Like, how did you take that?
I actually took it in a good light because I was going through the coaching process. One of the things that they make you aware is the things that you have happening in your own personal life. And there's this thing where you can't project onto other people. So if you're working with clients, it's unethical for you not to seek help and deal with your own issues, because what will happen is that you will inadvertently project whatever issues are happening with you during a session. And so I knew I had to get help because I was being called to step into a place where I was going to be impacting, my words were going to be impacting people, specifically women. And I work with everybody. I want people to understand it's not just women. It's just that I have a passion for women who are in transition, but we work with absolutely everybody, men and women, everybody that you can think of, however it is that you self-identify, because we're very respectful here. And so I knew that unless I went through therapy, I couldn't step into that. And so, of course, the first thing I did was I found a therapist, and it changed my life. It absolutely changed my life because I didn't realize all of the things that I was carrying, the stories that I was telling me was rooted in my childhood. And the things that I was being told, see, it's almost like there were two personalities, two Angies. There was such a dichotomy. It's like, yeah, you could do whatever you can. I see you in the White House. My parents are always telling me, I see you one day in the White House. And I always laugh about it because to them, it's, I'm a go-getter. I've always been that person that's always doing something. But it's also like, ay, pero Angie, you need to be like the rest. Betty, sécate el pelo. It's go and do your hair. Because that's not professional. Be careful how you're showing up. So I was constantly battling two people and how I should show up to places. I didn't know how I should show up. Should I be like everybody else? So it wasn't until I started to go through therapy that I realized, no, espérate un segundo. Wait 1 second. I have to redefine who I want to be moving forward. It doesn't have anything to do with the past. The past is the past. I can't change it. But you know what I can change? I can change my present and I can change my future. Entonces, it's redefining, what does success look like to me? What does happiness look like to me? What does beauty mean to me? So it was redefining the things that I had allowed other people to define for me.
Oof, I love that one. Absolutely. That's so important because we're constantly, I think men and women, right? We're all perhaps trying to follow the expectations of someone else, of what we were told, rather than figuring out what does that mean to us? For instance, a recent conversation I had with my boyfriend around the holidays as we're building our lives together is, how can we create new traditions that matter to us? How can we recreate what these things mean instead of following just what society tells us to do? Why don't we recreate that? Everything is an opportunity to recreate that. So I love that you mentioned that. And so, Angie, what does self-love mean to you? How would you define that for you today?
Oh, qué buena pregunta. What a great question. So self-love for me today means giving myself time when things don't work out to process and say, Angie, what did you learn from this? Instead of being an automatic and, it's almost like taking the whipping stick and whipping myself for not getting things right, giving myself grace in the moment to learn and process. I think we are too quick to jump into situations that will further flame the fire of self-doubt instead of self-love. And self-love means giving yourself time. Self-love means waking up every day. When I wake up and I go and I take a shower and I look in the mirror and I say to myself, you are the woman, okay? You are amazing. It's telling myself that I'm amazing, reminding myself, it wasn't until I started working with the coach that I have now. His name is Dr. Ricardo Martinez del Campo. He's absolutely amazing and brilliant. As a coach, I have to have a coach. And this gentleman, let me tell you, I remember in our sessions at the beginning, I've been working with him now for 4 years. And in the beginning, he would ask me the question, Angie, when was the last time you told yourself that you love yourself? And I'm like, what do you mean? Told myself that I love myself? Like, who does that? He's like, the thing is that your unconscious mind is behaving and acting based on what you're telling yourself. And so I'm trained in neurolinguistic programming. Neurolinguistic programming is the stories you tell yourself, what you think, and what you say is what you act, you produce, and you do. Entonces, if you have a negative mindset, you're telling yourself a negative story, guess what you're going to produce and manifest in the world? More negativity. So telling yourself that you love yourself instead of saying, Angie, you're stupid, you're dumb, you're not good enough. Now what you're doing is that you're reprogramming those stories that you've been telling yourself and moving towards the positive. Entonces, part of self-love is I love myself. Instead of waiting for someone else to say it to me, it's Angie telling Angie, girl, you're beautiful. I love you. But it felt so weird because we're not used to telling ourselves, I love you. It was such a weird concept at the beginning. I used to tell him, you mean to tell me that you wake up every day and you tell yourself, I love you, Ricardo? But yes. He says you need to start practicing telling yourself that you love yourself. Because he says, think about it. How many times have you been waiting for other people to tell you that you love you? And then now you've been fueling that negative thought that you're not good enough, that you're not worthy of love. And for me, it was like, that aha moment.
Yes.
It's like I'm hearing the angels. Everything is open. Angie! And I said, yes, I have been waiting for someone else to validate me instead of me validating me. And that's part of self-love. It's you taking action and telling yourself all of the things that you've been waiting to hear others say about you. Because the minute you start saying it, you start believing it, you feel it. Then what happens is that now it goes out into the world and then the world starts to see it. My coach says something that I absolutely love. He says, yo no peleo guerras externas. Yo la identifico en mi interior y desde ahí las resuelvo. In English, I don't fight external wars. I identify them inside of me in my heart. And from there, I resolve it. Imagine that you're resolving what's happening internally. And as you resolve the internal parts of you, now your external view and perspective is changing.
Oof, I love that. That's really powerful. Can you give me an example of maybe something that happened to you recently where you use that perspective?
Yes. I can give you a ton of examples. So my niece just got married in Dominican Republic. She did like the whole big wedding. She says it's like her third time getting married because she got married through the court and then she went into church and she did it, but she never had the big celebration. She's been with her husband 6 years now. No, more than 6 years, like 9, 10 years, but they've been married like 6 years. And I remember we were in Dominican Republic. She did it in Dominican Republic. And we were in the pool and my family is coming over and they're saying things like, Angie, we're all going to go and do our hair. We're going to straighten it. We're going to get our makeup done and we're going to do this, that, third, and the other. You sure that you don't want to do your hair? I was like, no. But as the days progressed up until the day of the wedding, I kept getting little things like, Angie, you're just going to be the odd person standing out. You sure you don't want to go and do your hair and straighten it? And I said, no, I don't. I said, imagine if I show up looking like the rest. I said, what I'm telling God is that his creation is not good enough to show up exactly the way that he told me to. I said, I'm going to stay here until an hour before we're supposed to show up to that wedding. And I'm going to show up with my curly hair and still look good in my dress. And that's exactly what I did. That was self-love. That was where I had to practice self-love. And self-love is saying no. When people are trying to force you to be part of the pack, and no is a full sentence.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. That's such a great example. And I meet people, let me know if you agree. To me, seeing someone who loves themselves is one of the most attractive traits ever. It is magnetizing because when someone identifies their value and respects themselves and embraces who they are as they are, there's this magic, this energy that they portray because they're not waiting for your approval of them. They already know it. Now, if you compliment them, great, but they don't need it, right? Would you agree?
Absolutely. The most attractive thing on a person is confidence. And confidence is connected to self-love. The more confident you are, the more you should be loving yourself. Although there are some people that are faking it till they make it, and we do not ascribe to that. You should be feeling it. The more you love yourself, it comes across, and it's magnetizing. People want to be around you because they want that. It's like, there's something about this person. I don't know what it is, but I want that. And speaking about self-love, you know what I did? I asked my sister, my twin sister, to be my business partner. I have another company, and the company is called Warrior Queen Cosmetics. I don't wear anything but my makeup. And I'm going to tell you this makeup was born out of that. It was born out of a passion and a willingness and a want to help women find the beauty in action. Because let me tell you, we think that beauty, that self-love is what you see on the outside, and it absolutely is not. It's deeper than that. It's what's on the inside, but it goes further than that. It's what you do. Because self-love is in the giving back to us. Our whole beauty line is rooted in the fact that we believe that there is beauty in the things that women do. Our makeup brand, it's almost like we're a Wikipedia of women that you should know. We decided that what we were going to do is share snippets of stories and have an action attached for every woman that comes across our makeup line. Because listen, makeup is literally the battle paint we use for whatever it is that we're facing. Our whole tagline is called Paint for Every Battle. You use makeup, to get ready when you're going to go and present. For example, for this podcast, I had to put my makeup on. I've been doing sessions since early today. You put on makeup, even if it's, like lip stain or a lip gloss when you're going to go to the supermarket, because there's a saying, right? My mom says, uy, primero bonita que fea. Like, you better be beautiful before ugly. Like, even if you put on some lip gloss when you're going to go to the supermarkets, what you put on.
Yeah, I totally do that too.
Yeah. And that's what we use makeup for. And so my sister and I wanted to create a vegan line that is inclusive, because what we found was that we were consuming and buying makeup that didn't necessarily look good on our skin tone as it did on somebody of a lighter skin tone than you. We said, no, we have to launch a line that any woman who comes across it not only feels inspired, because our line is educational, but also that it's long lasting. Because you know what's one of the most challenging things for me, based on my lifestyle, my businesses, what I'm doing, is that I don't have time to keep reapplying makeup or lipstick. And so our makeup is long lasting.
I love
You can
that.
have it on all night. Our makeup is also cruelty free. It's vegan. You know, we're using high quality product. And so we said, we want to make sure that when we think about a woman showing up, loving herself, that is in every area, and she's finding inspiration in the stories of others.
I love that, Angie. And what is your website for those who want to check out your amazing makeup?
Sure, it's www.warriorqueencosmetics.com. So check us out. We have the website. We're on Amazon. It's Warrior Queen Cosmetics. And reach out to us and engage and ask questions. We love sharing stories with our customers.
I love that. Thank you, Angie. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out, because for those who are listening via Spotify or Apple Podcasts and can't see Angie, her makeup is beautiful, it's colorful, and that's always beautiful. So thank you, Angie, for sharing that. Now, let's continue here with a few more questions for you. Can you provide some practical tips or techniques for women to improve their self-love through communication? Because I think for me, when I meet other women, the way that they speak and they express themselves tells me a lot about how they feel about themselves. So what are some tips there to help with their self-love journey?
Sure, of course. So tip number one, when it comes to your communication and how you communicate the way that you love yourself, is crafting your story. You should have at least 2 sentences that when people ask you who you are, that communicate exactly who you are in a loving way and not in a negative, right? People think that they are their title, what they're doing, their position, and you're more than that. Imagine showing up and saying to someone when you're asked, who are you? I'm light. I'm love. When you look at me, I am the vivid image of power, of hustle, grind, and grit, because I was born to help you and be a mirror to you that anything is possible. It's 2 lines. Write it down. Second tip. Oh my goodness, so important. When you feel the nerves bubbling up as you're speaking, pause, take a deep breath, and remind yourself that you've got this. And the third thing that you absolutely must do is smile. Do you know that everything begins with a smile? Authenticity begins with a smile. Nobody wants to connect with somebody that is saying something and they are communicating something completely different in their face. That's called misalignment. If you need help with all of this, we have a program. It's called the Confident Public Speaker. Celeste began sharing a little bit with you about it. We help people with exactly this.
Absolutely. Those are great tips. And the smiling part, I definitely try to do that as much as I can. I think smiling can communicate so many things, right? Talking about body language and how we are expressing that before even words come out of our mouths. I love that. What other body language techniques would you say are related to self-love and confidence?
Okay, so when it comes to your nonverbal communication and self-love, whenever we're talking about ourselves, the use of your hands is very important. Now, I'm going to ask you, Celeste, when I say the word love, where do you feel love?
In my heart.
Your hands in your heart, right? So if I say, I love myself, the use of your hands and putting it to your heart already puts you and I into rapport, because you say, it's in my heart. For me, it's in my heart. So I'm going to tell you, oh, for me, self-love, I've been doing this a lot. Self-love. This is how you and I have already built rapport. I'm putting it to my heart. You showed me it's in your heart. It's the use of your hands. Wherever you feel self-love, put your hand there. Don't put it in any other place that you should not be doing it. You want to be in alignment with what you're trying to communicate. So if it's in the heart, it's here. Self-love.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, I love that. That's a great one. Let's talk about maybe relationships, building relationships from a more, whether it is personal or professional, right? You're trying to meet someone, you're getting to know them, or perhaps you're getting to know someone professionally as well. And you want to come off as an assertive woman. You want to be respected. You want to be taken seriously. What do you think women can do and should start implementing today to come off that way to other people and be taken seriously from the get-go? Because perhaps we are, not every woman, but some women, right, we're taught to just be kind and like not speak too much. And we're taught to be more of a people pleaser and things like that. So what can we do to be more assertive and take our power that already exists within, as you shared at the beginning of the episode?
What a great question. We get asked this all the time. I get this question a lot. So the way that you show up is very important. Confidence already, I told you, it begins with how you see yourself, right? And what you're communicating about you to the world. And it has to do with how you love yourself. But it also has to do with communicating your expectations, whether it's a personal relationship or a professional relationship or a friend relationship. What we have to do as women is get better at speaking up and sharing and communicating our expectations. This is what happens in relationships. I'll share something with you. And so this is huge news. Minoy and I have been doing regular podcasts, being guest speakers in another podcast where we've been talking about red flags in relationships. We have been talking about red flags in relationships in all types of relationships. This book, we have a book. This is based on the book that we're launching in December. So everybody watch out for that.
Oh, amazing.
This is one of the things that we share. And expectations. We have unrealistic expectations of the others. And inadvertently, the way we speak and what we communicate will make the other have the false expectations about us and what we want. And so what happens is that we are constantly assuming people whenever we're interacting with them. And so communication is key. Over communication is better than under communication. Setting your expectations, letting people know what they are, and then asking them what theirs are is important.
I love that, because oftentimes we are just assuming, like you said, right? Or perhaps we just want the other person to know it without us having to say it. But no one can just guess what we want, right?
Yeah,
I know even my mom that I adore so much, she would expect me to do things at times without telling me. And I'm like, Mom, how am I supposed to know that you want me to do this if you never told me? And she's like, well, you should just know. I'm like, what? I don't think it works that way.
Right. People think we have a magic ball. We don't. How do you expect me, to all of a sudden have an idea? It's like, the Lord is going to be like, Angie, Celeste want this, unless you haven't communicated that to me. We have false expectations of people all the time. And it's rooted in, this is what happens when there's a conflict in a relationship, whatever relationship it is, it's rooted in communication. And at the root of that is an expectation that wasn't communicated, that wasn't discussed. Yeah, where two people agree. So that's the problem that we have. But if you level set expectations from the get-go, listen, people are always going to respect you, because I'd rather respect somebody that speaks their mind and shares their thoughts than someone who says, see, yes, and just goes with what the rest of the people are saying.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And that's something, I try to do myself continuously. I try to help my friends and anybody who I'm working with to also do that, because we need to advocate for ourselves, right? For our needs, for what we want, and also be a driver to the outcomes we desire, whether it is at work or in our personal relationships, because no matter what type of relationship it is, it takes two people to be in them. And communicating that, sometimes you can compromise if
Mhm.
doing that proactive communication, but then you feel better about it because then you decided together, right?
Absolutely. And you just said something so important. You have to take ownership of the outcomes and the circumstances that you want. Listen, people cannot guess that you're amazing unless you're doing a good job of communicating and sharing the things that you're doing. If there's something that you see that is wrong, right? If you're not getting paid or, compensated for the work that you're doing, it's your fault. I would say it's your fault. You know why? Because you're not speaking up. You're not advocating. You're not
Mm-hmm.
fighting for the things that you deserve. You're not telling people what your worth is. And that it's probably because you're doubting who you are. And so you have to become very good at telling people the things that you're doing and almost like becoming your own mouthpiece, your own voice piece of all of the great things. Porque si la gente no sabe, if people don't know, how do you expect them to do X, Y, and Z for you? And so become a self.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. And ladies, gentlemen, whoever's listening, this is a reminder to share the amazing things that you're doing. One of my colleagues a few weeks ago, she got promoted to this amazing role. And I encouraged her, I'm like, hey, post this on social media. Like, you did this. This is an incredible achievement. And she was a little bit shy to do it. And just little things like that is like, we should continuously, if you're doing something good, if you've achieved something through hard work and like genuine work and connections and work ethic, like you should be sharing it. You should be advocating for yourself continuously. So I absolutely love that, Angie. And that also makes me think about, when we introduce ourselves, and you brought up that point of like, you should have that 2-line phrase or sentence that you use when you speak about you. When I reflect on that, for me also, what have I done through my own hard work that makes me believe those words? Because, one of the reasons why I love helping women as well with their self-love and their self-esteem is because I remember a younger version of me who struggled a lot with it. And initially, when I would say I love myself, I didn't really believe it, right?
Mm.
But I think also self love is earned because it's also about like the way I look at confidence is, let me know if you agree and let me know your thoughts. If I tell myself I'm going to do something for me, but then I don't do it because I'd rather just chill and watch Netflix, then I'm not honoring me. Just like if you tell your partner, your best friend, hey girl, we're going to do this together, right? If you don't then follow through, she's going to be like, hey, you told me you were going to do this and then you bailed on me. It's
Right.
like you're bailing on you too. So, right, just like you should be intentional about what you say to others, be intentional with what you say to yourself and continue to build that relationship. Let me know your thoughts.
Absolutely. I agree with you. That's also part of self-love, intentionality. That if you say that you're going to do something for your well-being, that you go and you do it. See, people are our masters. They are our mirrors. So when you bail
Yes.
out on your friend, you hit the nail on the head. When you bail out on your friend, that's your mirror. How many times have you bailed out on the things that you were going to say that you were going to do for you? It's not about your friend. The situation with your friend is just teaching you and reminding you that this is what you do with yourself constantly. And you should not be doing that because loving you means doing the things that bring you peace, that bring you joy, that bring you happiness every single day. We're very good at being there for others, but we don't show up for ourselves. We constantly put it to the back burner. And so this year, just going to share these final thoughts with you. Be intentional about the way you show up for you because the way you do it for you, people see it. Second thing is, if you say that you love you, loving you can look like what? Maybe go and have that massage that you haven't had in 2 years that you say you were going to do. Go on that vacation that you've needed for 4 years so that you can go and get clarity and reconnect with yourself. That's love. But also, it's saying, you know what? it's almost like when you go into a plane and you know the instructions that they give you, when the masks come down, make sure to put it on yourself. It's putting the mask on yourself first before going and helping others. And I already told you, no is
Absolutely.
a sentence. You don't have to do everything for everybody in that moment. People don't require you that much. You know who requires you? You. That's self-love.
Oof. Oh, I love that one. Yes, 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 yes. That was amazing. Loved all those tips. And I hope that you all listening just take that in, and put it into practice. Ultimately, self love is a never ending journey, right? We constantly are growing. There's new things we figure out about ourselves. There's new identities that we develop, and we need to continuously embrace. We need to also let go of things that bring us down, or maybe people at times too, that that's also self-love. So I love this conversation. I can honestly talk about this all day long, but thank you, Angie, for sharing all those amazing things. And I have one last question that I like to end every interview with, which is, what does success mean to you now? I'm sure it looks different if I were to ask you this 10 years ago. So what does it look like today?
Absolutely. It has changed from 10 years ago. Success for me today is living on purpose and for a purpose. I know that for me, my purpose is to change one life a day, 365 days a year. When I receive a message from somebody that says, Angie, your words touched me. You have no idea how it changed me. That's success. Because I can go to bed knowing, I lived with purpose. I lived my purpose today. It's being happy. For me, happiness is having peace in my life. It's not necessarily having, a full bank account anymore. That was me 10 years ago. Now it's, being able to go and do the things that bring me peace, love, joy, and are part of my self-love journey. That's success.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. And you certainly live that way. From external perspective, you exemplify that. So that's beautiful.
Thank you. And thank you for having me in your podcast. It was really an honor to be able to do it today on Women's History Month, and so the celebration of the month. And so I'm very honored.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Angie, for being here with us. I will be sharing all of her links for social media and her website, all of that fun stuff in the show notes. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Continue to love yourself. Your power is in how you feel about you, because that's how you come off to others, ladies and gentlemen. So that's the work we're here to do. Until next time, my friends. You have just finished listening to this episode, and I hope you're feeling inspired, enlightened, and ready to take the next step to accomplish your goals. Make sure to check out the show notes for any information shared. And if this message impacted you, please share this wisdom with at least one person you care about, and let's grow this movement across the globe. Always remember that the light to success is you, my friend. Until next time.